Your ideal client needs to be documented, and you need to have a clear understanding of their psychographic drivers, which is their passions, their interests, the professionals that they're in front of. See how this connects to COIs, the places that they like to go. See how it connects to COIs. And it should be grounded in reality of your existing best clients. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the new Skool video podcast. My name is Candace Carlton. I'm head of strategy at Ficomm Partners. If you hear a little bit of raspiness in my voice, it's because I'm getting over a cold. So bear with me. I'm going to be your coach and your collaborator through this episode. And in this episode, we're talking about a new Skool, what we call a modern approach to accelerating COI referrals to drive organic growth in your business. So COI referrals are really a traditional way to grow an advisor's practice. Everyone kind of knows what it is, but I think the paradigm has shifted, and the way that you can work a COI relationship right now is very different from how an advisor may have worked that relationship historically. So it's about authenticity. It's about leading with value. It's about adding digital to the mix and having an active strategy, but also really thinking differently about it. And the question you might be asking yourself is like, why are COI referrals important? Why would I spend my time here? And the reality is, what we know to be true is referrals from your clients and effective COIs actually garner the highest ROI in terms of you're not paying 25 basis points in perpetuity for them. Number 2, they're more than likely really good fits if those COI relationships are nurtured in a way that's authentic and aligned with your business. The same with your client referral. So more right fit leads. In our experience working with firms, easier to close. So your sales cycle is higher ease and shorter. And in our experience, are longer term good fit clients. So who wouldn't want more right fit leads, shorter, easier sales cycle, and more long-term right fit clients? That's the goal of your COI referral strategy. So in this episode, I'm joined by my friend Bev Flaxington. She is the CEO and founder of The Collaborative. They do performance coaching with a strong and particular expertise in sales coaching. And so I love Bev and her team because they're so aligned with our philosophy, very modern, heart-centered, empathetic, human, no weird salesy stuff that makes you feel a little bit cringy, like a little bit of old school vibes. Also, what I've heard is that G2s in our experience really love this style, and we're so aligned with it. This episode is relevant to whether you're sub 500 million in AUM all the way up to 20 billion plus REAs, because that's the makeup of our clients. So this is the framework and thinking that we would use in working directly with one-on-one with our clients. And I'm going to share it with you. Okay, so I'm going to try and give you as much value in a short amount of time as possible, because I know you're listening to this as you walk or as you drive. So 1, what am I going to cover? A modern approach to identifying COIs. What is that modern way to think about COIs? The essential elements to an effective strategy, and then what to actually do to make it effective. And I'm going to have my interview with Bev pop up throughout the episode. So 1, I was told not to number it because it's easy to get lost. So I'm not going to number it. Okay. So we'll just start with a modern approach to identifying COI. So if we think about the old school paradigm of COI referrals, advisors would think about tax planning professionals or estate planning attorneys. Good potential sources of referrals still, but a modern approach really expands who a COI or a center of influence is. So a COI can be a person like an estate planning attorney, but think about other professionals that your best clients are in front of. So it could be gym owners, Pilates studios owners, equestrian club owners, or maybe just the people that are going that equestrian club, which brings me to the second point is a center of influence can also be a place and not necessarily a person. So essentially what you're doing is, if you think about, if I told you there's a party down the road, there's this really cool DJ, and all the types of clients that you love to serve are there, they're prospects. You'd be like, sign me up. I'd like to go to the party, right? It's the same from a marketing and a business development perspective. You're looking to go to the party where people where you're like, those are my people, those are my clients. That's where you want to hang out. So a modern approach is not just creating a digital footprint and setting back, but meeting your clients where they are, your potential clients, your prospects. So even that's true from a digital perspective. They're on LinkedIn, you should be on LinkedIn because that's the digital party place. If they're all at the question club, you should be at the question club, right? So identifying those parties, it's not really parties, but I'm just using that for this episode, the places and people that your best clients are in front of.
I really like the new school kind of moniker because I think we do need a mind shift in the way that we think about who a center of influence is and how we interact with them. In my experience, and you've just touched on this, a lot of times advisors will think about it as a relationship that has to be built, and then opportunities will come from that. But the perpetual prospect idea reminds us that you don't just build it and they will come to make this movie. You have to continue to think about what is this center of influence interested in? What do they care about? How do we continue to engage? So I think if you think about a pipeline, to me, your center of influence stays on there perpetually. So I think one of the things, and this is the new school way of thinking, is we really have to expand how we think about a center of influence. Because in fact, a center of influence is anyone who is touching the same sort of clients that you want to be touching. So I had an advisor that was very stuck. He actually was not somebody all that comfortable with networking and building his brand. But he talked to me about this gym that had opened up in a very wealthy community where he lived. We had him go in, talk to the owner of this gym. Turned out this gentleman owned 5 gyms in all of these wealthy towns. So you think about wellness, the topic of wellness. That's everything from how am I stable from my finances to how am I working out effectively to get the most out of my workouts. They ended up partnering together. The gym owner was invested in raising his profile. The advisor was invested in meeting additional people that fit his profile. They exploded their businesses together. They did a few little workshops. Sometimes the advisor would actually even be at the gym to meet with people before or after their workout. And so I think, if I was to ask an advisor, define a center of influence for me, I doubt anyone, Candace, would say, well, the guy that owns the gym down the street could be one. So I think we need to really think expansively about who are these people out there that are touching the same sort of clients we want to touch.
Okay, so now we've got a modern mindset or approach to thinking about your centers of influence and your COI. So now I'm going to talk about what are the essential elements to an effective strategy and then what to actually do. So the essential elements to an effective COI strategy is you have to be clear on who your who is. So who your ideal client is. And I feel like I'm going to feel like a broken record as you listen to these episodes, but it's an essential element. Your ideal client needs to be documented and you need to have a clear understanding of their psychographic drivers, which is their passions, their interests, the professionals that they're in front of, see how this connects to COIs, the places that they like to go, see how it connects to COIs, and it should be grounded in reality of your existing best clients. So who do we say your who could be? If you think about segmenting your book of business, looking at the top 10% of your clients and saying, okay, these are clients that I love working with. I find it fulfilling to work with them. They value what I do. And if I cloned them and all my future clients look like them, the future of my business would be wildly profitable and viable. That's who your who should be, ideally. And ideally, you've documented all the key attributes of a person based in reality, one of your best clients, so you really start to understand them on the psychographic level. So you've got to be clear on your who. 2, these relationships need to be authentic. So you can't develop COI relationships with people you don't really like or people that you have no vested interest in really getting to know. So they have to be authentic. You need to like each other. The third thing is that there is going to be a digital component of this to scale yourself, but there's also an active boots on the ground perspective. So it is part marketing, part biz dev, but you have to be able to go and engage and develop those relationships one-on-one. So you're going to have to go to the lunches or the parties and invite them to your parties, and not necessarily the parties, but you know what I'm saying, your events, things that you're doing, going to them. And we'll talk about what that looks like. And then the last part is you have to have a mindset shift. And Bev does such a phenomenal job of coaching us through this, but she really thinks about your COIs in your mind need to be thought of as a perpetual prospect. So think about how you would treat a perpetual prospect. That's why it has to be authentic, because it's for the long term, right? And there has to be two elements. It has to be someone that you would enjoy going to lunch with, for example, or going for a run with, or going to play golf with, or whatever activity it is that you want to do. So let's hear from Bev on what she thinks about the perpetual prospect.
So it really is being strategic and thinking about it, and all the work you all do when you think about the touch points and from a marketing perspective, and how to remind that center of influence who you are. In fact, one of the things we should talk about, I often tell this story, Candace, about an advisor we worked with, and we were just trying to do some things around client communication, but we asked if we could talk to some of his COIs, and all of them said, "I love Jerry. He's a great guy." But when we asked them why, what does he do for your, none of them could answer it.
Okay. So we've talked about a modern approach to COI, why COIs actually matter, the essential elements to an effective strategy. Now we're going to talk about what to actually do and how to execute on a strategy that is going to be effective. So I think the most important thing is this has to be an active strategy. So you can't just create a plan, say, oh, yes, I have COIs, but the referrals come one way and I don't really engage in any action. It is the perpetual prospect mindset. So think about how you would nurture a perpetual prospect. The first thing you want to understand is, where are your best clients, your who? You want to make a list, and then you want to start engaging with those people or places. And I think the most important thing here is you're not going to engage in the relationship to then say, hey, I would like you to send me referrals. You're going to develop an authentic relationship, and you're going to find opportunities not to sell or ask for referrals. You're going to find opportunities to lead with value. So it may look like, hey, I'd love to find I'd love to find out more about your business. Can we do a Zoom call? Can I take you out for lunch? Because Bob, Bob's my favorite client. Bob says that he has a phenomenal relationship with you and you add so much value. And so what I want to find out is if there's other clients that I might be able to refer to you like Bob. Okay. So a couple of things that I just did there that you might have noticed is really helpful to ask those people who represent the top 10% of your clients, the professionals that they're in front of that add a lot of value, or to find out the places that they're at, so that you can say, like, my client Bob, for example, this is another example, brings his children to the swim meet, and maybe at the swim meet, other parents are your potential prospects. And you might say to the organizers of that, hey, I'd love to sponsor their next lunch. Like, I'd love to add some value. And the next lunch that we do for everyone, the kids and the parents, like, I'd like to sponsor it and give away X, right? So you're finding opportunities and clearly identifying where your who is based on the reality of your best clients. You're finding the opportunity to develop an authentic relationship, and you want to lead with value. So leading with value could look like you offering a free lunch and learn. It could be you sponsoring something. It could say, I would love to offer your clients a special offer, like a tax assessment, but you're only going to offer these things once you've listened, right? Find out more about their business, find out the types of clients they serve, what they're passionate about, your COIs or the places, right? You might invite them to be on your webinar or your podcast, or you might even form a COI advisory board of the best-in-class experts to support client needs, right? So that might be something that you do. It's like, these are all options. They're going to be specific to that COI, your business, and the type of clients, okay? So you're going to engage in that relationship really authentically. You're going to lead with value, right? You're going to find opportunities to add value. And then you want to schedule regular in-person touch points, at least once a quarter, whether it's you swinging by and dropping off something, taking them out for lunch, playing golf, going to yoga, whatever the activity is, the in-person component is essential because listen, we all know we're kind of keyboard warriors. We're behind our computers, we're meeting with clients and prospects, and sometimes we forget that there's people out in the world. And the only way to really develop those relationships is to get out of the office, go see them or the places and engage. So you want to have an active part of your strategy, at least quarterly. We recommend that you're working at least 3 COI relationships a quarter, actively, and then continually adding to them really authentically. From a digital perspective, you want to stay in front of them and use your digital as a way to have additional touch points in between your meetings, the same way you would with your clients, right? So here are some really simple actions that are high impact that you should take for your COIs. 1, add them to your client communications. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to add you to our client communications so you can see the types of things that I share with clients like Bob. Feel free to send to any of your clients if you want to. Then you're in front of them consistently. You're demonstrating value. They see what type of experience and things that you communicate with their clients. You stay top of mind. 2, you want to connect with them on social media, right? So that they're seeing your posts too. Same reason. Also, you have indirect access to their digital network. So their clients might see your posts and then realize that you can add value to them too. You want to comment on their posts on social media, add value, be present. Authentically, okay? Authentically, we're not selling. And then you want to invite them to your client events, right? Same thing. They can get to know your clients. They get a vibe of what the experience is like. Much easier for someone to refer someone. By the way, we're talking about unsolicited referrals right now. Much easier for them to refer someone if they get a sense of what the experience is like when you work with clients. Okay, so this is most important. All of this, authentic, leading with value, right? I think something that's really important here too is you should feel really comfortable referring your clients to them if appropriate. They should be at the level where you feel like, yes, they are what I would want my clients to experience. So it is a mutual relationship, right? So mutual relationship. This thinking even applies to retail referral programs. So here's Bev to talk about how she sees this, but really brand reps are, brand, I mean like Fidelity or Schwab, are COI. So branch reps is actually what I meant to say, not brand. Branch reps are COIs. This is to Bev's advice.
So this is such an important one too, because I think, again, there's so many assumptions, right? You see this so much in the work you do as well, but there's just so many assumptions that get made in this business. So I have, say, this Schwab financial consultant, and I'm going to make an assumption because that person's working with firms like mine every day, right? So they understand the distinctions between the firm. We have to think about the fact that this is almost like if you think about, any sort of distribution process. If I want you to distribute what I do, the responsibility is on me to make sure that you have what you need in order to be able to represent me well. So I think we really need to think about these channels that way, that it's not the responsibility on them to understand how to present my advisory firm. The responsibility is on me to show why it is that we're different, but very importantly, who it is that we're specifically set up to serve. So a lot of the work that you all do on kind of niche market and really being clear about who that is. So I want my financial consultant, investment consultant to be looking for certain sort of investor, right? That's going to be a good fit for my firm. That's number 1. Number 2, I need to be able to show very clearly and succinctly how it is that I'm different from the other advisory firms. And that's not, Candace, going in with a 50-page PowerPoint. That's not taking the financial consultant to lunch and talking about who you are. That really is honing in on, we would call them kind of your platform points, right? But what are the 3 to 5 things that you want to arm that person to be able to say? So if I know who I'm looking for and I know how to teach them how to represent me, I also have to think about them as the perpetual prospect. So don't keep asking me to go to lunch if we don't have something to talk about. Bring me a story. about somebody I've worked with. Show me how to present what we do. So I think, a lot of the work that you all do is so critical here, because those assumptions that they're just going to understand it because they're in our business, that's very dangerous. We asked them, what their COI strategy was. And so they had 50 names in this, database. And we were like, okay, well, how many of them do you interact with on a regular basis? And, you dig in, and of course you can't. I mean, I love your point, because if I had 50 best friends, time in the day to make everybody feel right. So that's one piece that is absolutely so important to think about. Let's winnow it down. You could have 50 that you're sending great communication out to, certainly that you're touching, but it's probably 5 to 7 that really are your friends, your relationships. But I think your other point, and we just try to underscore this all the time, is I'll see an advisor ready to go in and talk to a center of influence, and they have a phenomenal pitch book, right, ready to go. Or they're going to have a lunch with all the estate attorneys at a firm. Great. They're going to stand up and they're going to present about what they do. But what do you know about what they're doing on a daily basis? What are their obstacles? Who are they working with? Who do they consider to be their niche market? I mean, the most impressive person in any room is the one asking the most questions.
Yes.
I think, and your framing about it is so on target, because it is a relationship you're trying to build. And I am not going to be in relationship with you if every time we go out, all I'm doing is telling you about me. I want to learn about you. And that's so foundational to this engagement.
Okay, so this episode was chock full of advice on how to accelerate COI referrals for your business by developing authentic relationships that are hyper intentional and targeted on the people and places that your best clients hang out at, to essentially drive more right fit leads that are easier to convert and result in long-term good fit clients. If you have any questions or is anything you want me to cover, I love hearing from advisors across the country. You're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. You can also email me at candace.carlton@ficompartners.com. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you want to find out how other firms are building their business, you're welcome to head over to our Growth Leaders of Wealth Management podcast. So our CEO, Meg Carpenter, is the host, and she has the opportunity to interview key executives and advisors of firms on their growth journey and their learning. So this podcast is all about equipping you specifically with the mindset and tools. That one you can get insight to how other firms are doing. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you in the next one.